founder, or one of the founders, and the CEO of Data House. And you have a passion and love for, and a big heart for startups, right? And when I first got to know you, I had the experience that you are a very, very successful and powerful businesswoman. You are a mom to 2 kids, 2 boys, which is a hard job. But at the same time, you're so humble and you're so, relaxed. And I was just thinking and asking myself, where does that come from? Is it because you are that by nature, or was it always the case, or does it have to do something with your faith? Tell us a little bit more about that, about your journey.
I'm just a good poker face. That's my secret skill. That's the difference between how you see me and how I see me. I see myself not like that, but thanks for the compliment. And I think, I just try to ride the wave every day, because being a businesswoman and being a mother, I cannot really plan my days. I mean, every day is different. So in the morning I just wake up and say, okay, please Lord, bless my day, and just go in front of me. And then some days I don't talk to him for the next 24 hours. So I just ride the wave, yeah. But I think I'm very blessed with wonderful people and opportunities around me. So I usually go through every open door, and sometimes the Lord opens me the door, sometimes good friends open me the door. And I'm just courageous and look behind it. And I have to admit that sometimes I forget to pray, a lot of times. And I usually then thank Him for still being with me, even when I walked alone. Yeah. So that's maybe for the beginning, yeah.
Good to hear. This is what I sense, that you're deeply rooted in your faith.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't count how often you pray, but if you're in a relationship with God and He's a part of your working life as well, that makes your appearance so relaxed and humble. But I have another question for you. In your daily work life, where do you see yourself making a difference, being a Christian or living out your faith at work? Can you give us some examples where you see that you have a positive impact?
Yeah, we discussed it a little bit with your boss a few minutes ago, that a few years ago I decided, because I had a really bad experience, I decided that I will never work with Christians. But I changed. Because I had a really bad experience. But my whole work environment, they all know that I'm Christian. Even I don't really talk a lot about it, but they just know it. So when it comes hard, like in hard situations, like when we almost went bankrupt 5 years ago, or when somebody dies, they all come to me and say, hey, you now know how to handle the situation. But in daily work life, I mean, I'm not sitting there and praying before a partners meeting or board meeting, but they just know in certain situations to ask me for maybe that super skill, what I have in my back. And this is always very interesting for me, because they sense it somehow, even I'm not talking about it a lot. And that, I think that's how the Lord works, He works sometimes not through my words, He just works there, He's just there. Yeah.
So would you say this is kind of strategy to not tell everybody about your faith, but just live your faith, which is a better preaching than just talking about it?
I'm not so good with strategies, but I think I probably made the decision one day that I will just live it. And but when I have a very intimate talk or whatever with somebody about his or her current situation, then I sometimes drop it, but I first wait for the surrounding that it fits, I'm not going there with like a hammer right away. So I wait that there's an open situation where I can talk about it.
Sounds good. And the other thing is that you've been involved in a church, the Berlin project, from the very beginning, I guess. And I know a little bit about the story, but would you share how you supported the church? And I think it can encourage a lot of people in the business field how to support their local church.
Christian, you can tell later your point of view. But I think it started on the Expo 2000 in Hanover. I was working in the whale fish. I don't know if some of you remember that. It was managed by CVJ. And there were lots of Christians, and I felt like the elephant in the porcelain shop. Do you say that in English? And there was this one other guy who also felt like that. Why? Because we were drinking, we were smoking, and we loved to party. And we were Christians, but everybody around us kind of thought that doesn't fit together. That was Fritjof. And so we kept in contact, and back then I was going to a normal church. I was pretty bored normally every Sunday, but I thought I should go there because my parents always went there. And then I started praying for a church where I would really enjoy the company of the other churchgoers, and I started praying for a church where I could bring my not-Christian friends who had questions. And then Fritjof stayed in contact with me, and then after a while he sent me an email and said, hey, my friend Christian and Kostas are coming to Berlin and you might fit very well to their new project. And then I met with one of them, not you, the other one. And then we talked together, and it was all about commitment, lots of commitment. And back then I didn't want to commit to anything, not to a boyfriend, not to a church, not to nothing. So I said, okay, do your stuff, but I won't commit, but maybe once in a while I will show up. And then he kept in contact with me, that was constantly, and he said, I think you should meet my co-founder, Christian. And Christian then, from the first moment, knew how to pick me, because he knew that I'm very good in community building. So I forgot how you did that, but I showed up at every meeting, I showed up at every church for him, so I showed a lot of commitment. And I was very surprised on myself. I still don't know how you did that. Yeah, so I was there at the first service where we prayed that the next Sunday the Lord would bring us 25 people, and nowadays there are a few hundred, right? Yeah. I think that was probably meant as a Überleitung to him, right?
Yeah, I want to know more about that.
Oh yeah, and then you probably mean this one story. Okay, yeah. So then, like 2009, I built up Beta House, which is a co-working space in Kreuzberg, and in the beginning, we had not, like right now we have an average of 1,000 external events at our space, a little bit like here, but back then we had no events happening, and we decided that we want to have events, and then we started looking for events, and we decided we only want to get an events who pay for the space. And then Berlin Project asked us if they can host their service at our cafe. And I said, of course. But you said, I think you said you had no budget. And I said, oh shit, we just decided we won't take anything and we can't pay. But I brought it to my co-founders and I said, hey, my church wants to host their service at our space. And then one of my co-founders said, yes, if they pay. And I said, no, they don't have money. And I said, no. And then the other co-founder said, Christian church? No, not at all. They're going to ruin our image. If we start with that, where will we ever end? And I said, okay. And then I sat down and prayed for one of the few times. And the next week we met again. And then this co-founder said, oh, I have this awesome professor with this group of art students. And they want to bring in an exhibition at our space, but for free, and we made this decision that they will. I said, okay, who's that professor? And it was, what's his first name? Florian Slotava. And I said, oh, I know this guy. He's going to my church every Sunday. So why don't we do a deal? You can bring in your art group and I can bring in my church. And he said, oh, yeah, okay. And so since then we had services at our space, but we never had the exhibition because the students never got organized themselves, so the exhibition So I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to do it. Yeah.
That's a wonderful story. I love it. I love to hear it twice, and for the third time, it's always amazing. Okay, talking about churches, Christian, you are not an average pastor, which I love about you. You are the founder and pastor of Berlin Project, a large community and progressive church in the city center of Berlin. But at the same time, you are a design thinking and innovation coach to many organizations, and you help startups and social businesses to with their ideas, and you got an award for that. And what I love about what you do is that you bring together two seemingly separate worlds that actually belong together, and not every pastor is successful in doing that. And I was just thinking about, you have this experience from the two worlds, from business and faith and work. How did that influence your perspective in seeing your personal ministry as a pastor and seeing your church?
Thanks for the question. I think that, and introduction, I think if you want to do church well, you have to really keep in mind for whom you're doing your church. And that's a big parallel, I think, to all of us and you working in startup and trying to market a product or develop a product that can be marketable. You have to keep in mind whom you want to serve, whom you want to reach, whom you want to help to solve a problem in life. And I think often churches forget that because, of course, the situation of church is a little bit different. You come with this beautiful, fully packed backpack of wisdom, of encouragement and hope, but this is so much that you sometimes forget that there's the other side. And the other side has specific questions and specific desires and specific ways of understanding your content, and there needs to be a really strong ear towards what people actually want to hear and how they can hear it. For example, I'll give you an example if I can. I think that we talk. There's a lot of talk today about mindfulness and about spirituality, and I think many churches position themselves as being critical towards that, or they have their problems with it, and I think there are stuff too that can be criticized. But on the other hand side, it's an expression of many people out there having true spiritual desires and a real interest in finding peace in an overburdening city and work life. And so I think to address that, to use that, to answer that, bring deeper content into it through the gospel, that's kind of the way to go.
Sounds very challenging, right? Do you have where do you get your inspiration from? Like, are there models or other methods that you refer to?
Well, I've always liked to live in the city context and be really deeply involved in the city where we do ministry. And I think that's a key point too. Of course, you can have this missionary mindset where you go to some foreign place, alien place, dark place, however you want to describe it, and then you say, oh, such a difficult place, such a tough place, and you're always in an antagonistic spirit to the place. But you can also go to a place where you say, if I had another job, if I was an architect or whatever, I would still live exactly here. Now I'm a pastor, now I'm doing church here, and I love the place. And immediately you find these inspirations. So I would say that the city is inspiration, many events are inspiration, reading books is inspiration. There's so much good content out there that we can connect the gospel to.
And if you're talking to young professionals or individuals in general, what would you tell them to encourage them to find their vocation, or even like on a lower level to integrate their faith in their daily work life?
Yeah, that's a big topic. It's a topic that I really like and enjoy. I would say one source to go to that I have started to recommend heavily is a website that's called 80,000hours.org. It's a beautiful site. The concept is that in our work, in our vocational life, we have 80,000 hours to spend. And this website is hosted by people that are called, or the movement is called Effective Altruism. And these are people from many different streams of life. The co-founder of Facebook is part of that group that think about how to do good better, so strategically. And they came up with this website to advise people that are just graduating or starting in their career how to spend your 80,000 hours most effectively. And they, for example, one key advice that they give is that it might not be the best decision to go straight into a nonprofit. And of course, they also try to free us from this idea that you have to be a doctor or a nurse to do good. And then they give all kinds of advice how you really can be strategic about developing your career in a way that it will have maximum impact in the end to save the planet, to do something good. Yeah.
I love the website as well. It's great because they also address the question of what does it mean to make a difference? What is it actually? What is the difference?
Yeah.
But on the, yeah, do you want to say
Can I
something?
follow up something?
Yeah.
Because I think it's really interesting that this is not a Christian website. It's not a Christian movement. And this just shows where the world that we're living in today. They have statistics that show that more than a third of graduates today find it critical and key to work in a job that makes a social impact. And so we're living in a time where we as Christians trying to do good, kind of high-nosed thinking we have the best for the world. We're living in a situation where there's so many people out there that want to do substantial good for the world. And that's an interesting situation to be in because it kind of puts us in place and we can only come with a very humble attitude and just be in the choir and prove ourselves through doing substantive good work instead of coming from up there and thinking that we have all the answers. But on the other hand side, it also means there is a strong choir, and I love to sing bass in a choir. Hey, let's do it. Let's join the voices, and it will be a beautiful song in the end. So I like that a lot.
So having all this background and the experience from all the things that you did and what you saw and what you built up in the church, do you think that churches have something to learn from startups? And if so, what could that be?
No.
Come on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn. I think one thing is really cool about startups that the church could learn a lot of is that you test things. You go out and you test your stuff, and if it doesn't work, you change it, and then you test it again, and so on and so on. And where does the church really do that? And if the church would do that, then we wouldn't have all these empty churches going on Sunday morning where you test it kind of in centennial circles, like every 100 years you might change something. That's not necessarily the leading approach. And so I think testing would be cool, and then also it's kind of fascinating, also a little dull sometimes, but fascinating to see people in the startup world talking about changing the world. So they do a delivery service and they say this will absolutely change the world, or they do a paperclip and this will of course change the world. And if people with these kind of products can talk about changing the world, like why can't we as Christians start to learn how to phrase our belief in credible ways as changing the world, literally, and creating a meta-narrative again that's very attractive to people, that people want to be part of and want to save the world.
Thank you. Very beautiful. So we just talked about startups. Now I would love to hear more from Joshua. Joshua, I just got to know you a couple of months ago, I think, and I was really impressed with your life, and you're so full of purpose and vision. You started your own business at the age of 15. I think now you're 24, right? And you're not a dreamer. You know what you want, and I can see God's hand in your life so clearly, and that's so encouraging. But I was wondering, what made you to do what you do today? What's your journey?
Yeah, cool. Thanks for the question. So, what makes me my person, what I am today, is we have to start at the beginning of my life. So, when I was 4 or 5 years old, my parents separated. So this was really tough for me. And then, I were the only man in my family, and I wanted to be in that role that I can help my family and be there for my family. So I wanted to be this strong person and become stronger and stronger. So then I decided with 15 I want to earn my own money, but not like with a normal 450 euro job, but in a smarter way. So I founded a company with my friend, an e-commerce shop, and it ran quite well, and we could earn enough to buy everything we need at that time. So we had it till I was 19, and then we stopped it, and I studied business administration, and I wanted to do later on also startups, because I think that's one really good way how you can get a lot of make some things happen in the world, and not with, I don't know, going into a normal business like a corporate world and then working your 9-to-5 job. That's not my style. So that's my way, and now I'm in a cool startup called Anchor Cloud. We have some guys over there also from our team, and we're doing IT stuff.
That's great. It's such an understatement in person. I was thinking that you are really working in a startup, as a lot of people here in the room, in our community as well. What do you think does it mean to follow Jesus, to live your faith within this scene, startup and tech scene, IT business?
Yeah. So I think I'm a little bit similar like Madeleine. For me it's also the same. Sometimes you're closer to God, sometimes you're not so close to God and pray every minute. So sometimes you forget it and pray one day later. But I think it's important that you really have a good connection to God and have a good relationship. And while you're working, then also pray about things. Like important stuff, not for every small thing is required to pray, but because we are all the time connected to God. But if we have important stuff, then we can really talk to Him and pray.
Do you see a difference in it, not for yourself, but for your whole environment?
I think it gives you more confidence when you do things and you pray. Then you can. Be sure that God hears you, He hears you, and then it gives you the confidence which helps you also to win or perform better.
As I said before, you're full of purpose and vision, and it really inspires me because you have so much in front of you still. But where do you see, does it make a difference that you are pursuing your vocation? Why is it important to figure out what's your vocation for those who have not found out?
Yeah. So I personally think that God has given each of us a specific task, what we shall do in our life or shall do with our lives. So I think it's really necessary that we ask God what's our purpose here on earth, because we can all do startups, but what if it's not your thing and you're doing it, but it's not your thing, then you don't feel comfortable with it. And finding out what's your purpose in the life here is really necessary, and I would really recommend that we each one personally ask God, why am I here? And if we answer that question, it gives us the clarity to go our path.
Nicely said. Thank you. And you working in a startup industry, what do you think can churches learn from startups?
Okay, from the other perspective now, I think it's really cool. For example, here this event, churches are helping here to fund this event and all that. That's really great, but not every church is like that. And we also know the churches where you come from a business world into the church, and all the people are not business people. It's a little bit different environment, and then they, I don't know the English word for it, oberflächlich? Superficial. They think you are superficial when you come from the business world, so of course we are a little bit, but for adding something to that point, I think also that God has made us in such a way. So I mean, it's not a bad thing, obviously, to be sometimes superficial, because sometimes it gives you the more clarity and broader picture. So not everybody can go directly to the emotions or something like that. So what would I say can churches or startups learn from each other? I think we all should learn from each other, and I found the point really great what you said, Christian, that churches can learn from the cycles startups are doing with testing and everything. I think that's a really valid point.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
So I have a final question for you all. You all are very eager, successful, and I was just thinking your daily life and your stressful life, the moments when you're really under pressure. What helps you to not burn out? Maybe you had a burnout, I don't know, but what helps you practically to maintain a peaceful level on your daily life? Because you're giving your best, you're working with all your passion and heart, and you're doing something for God at the same time. What helps you to keep calm and carry on?
I had a burnout situation in my life like 6 years ago where I didn't know who I was outside of Beta House. So I was literally crying every morning. My body hurted when somebody told me a new idea. Normally I'm driven by new ideas. I love if people tell me new ideas, but everything ached. Do you say it like that? And I couldn't go near the building of Beta House because I thought like I cannot handle that anymore. And then I became really afraid who I am because I thought I'm nobody outside of that. If I can't do my job, who am I? And then I, like through a journey of a few months and with the help of a Christian coach, I got grounded again, you know. I found my grounding in Jesus, and I know who I am in Jesus, and I know that Beta House is my passion. I really love my company, but it's a company. It's there, and I'm here, and I have somebody else outside of Beta House. And when it becomes really stressful, it still becomes stressful, and I'm still sometimes in a situation where I'm really close to a burnout situation. There I always have to ground myself again and put myself under the blessing of the Lord. And get back in the situation where I know I'm loved, I'm valued, even if I don't perform as I want myself to perform. Normally I myself am my biggest enemy because I want to perform perfectly. And this is kind of like a thing where I always have to go back to. And a little bit the situation with the prodigal sons, both of them. I'm sometimes the older one, where I'm kind of like say, hey, I worked every day so hard, now I want to get something back. But no, I'm blessed, I'm loved, that's the only thing. It's tough, but I think I have a Bible study group who's meeting today, and they help me a lot, because when I sit with them, I'm not evaluated about, like, they don't see me out of Beta House eyes, they just see me as Madeleine, and that helps a lot, because in the rest of my life I'm usually so connected to my company, and I think that's the blessing and the curse in the startup life, because in startup life, as you probably all know, you're so close to your passion, you know, your passion becomes yourself, there's no work-life balance, and that's, I think, the most important thing to push that away sometimes.
That's actually amazing, because if you see Madeleine today at Beta House, she's a machine. I sometimes help there with some consulting, some team development. She's just and to know that you have this deep dip is actually, and then now you're fully integrated there again and taking it to a better place than it's ever been. That's an amazing story. That's pretty cool. Two things helped me. One is I found my way to a Christian meditation, I would say. It involves breathing, feeling my body, and praying. Like for me, of course, we all pray as Christians and we read the Bible, but that's wonderful. That's the foundation. That's most important. But it's very cognitive. That happens up here in the brain. And if I sit there in the morning and I breathe and I come and kind of connect myself with this moment, with this place, and then I touch my legs and say thank you for my leg, and thank you for my shoulders, and thank you for my neck, and these kind of things. I do that quite often, and that helps me a lot in a surprisingly strong way, I have to say. And then the other thing is friends. That's really key for me. For example, even just on Thursday, Madeleine and I went to a concert together with Chase, her husband, and then had dinner afterwards. And Bettina was there too, exactly. And then in the end, we just the two of us sat in a restaurant and talked, and I had a lot of anxieties going on because I was thinking about my future change, or where exactly am I going professionally, and we were able to talk about that. And these moments are just golden for me. They are like super powerful to have a friend that listens, a friend that's also wanting to achieve something in life, but has also a patient and graceful edge. and you sit there and you talk about these things, that's beautiful.
So for me, I would start with what's a burnout. I think burnout can come out of two ways. Either you're doing too much, or you're doing the wrong things, which you have an inner conflict. So I personally think I'm doing the right thing, so that's not my problem. But it's more that I try to do the work-life balance thing. So I do a lot of sports, I pray, I do these kind of things to pretend me from burning out. But I must say I'm also pretty young, so it's my second work year full time. So it's it's doable. Yeah, way to go. You said it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for all your statements. I wish I could just make notes, but we recorded the session, so we have a chance to look at it again. Thank you so much. Give a warm applause to our guests. Now we would love to hear some questions or comments out of our community. So if you have any questions or if you want to say something, please raise your hand and we will come around with the mic.
Icebreaker.
Come on, it's your chance. Okay.
Thank you for all your answers. Did it ever happen to you to have hard conflict with somebody, and maybe it's not always easy to keep calm and move like Christian life should drive us? How did you manage it? Did you step back? How did you behave? This is something that happened to me, and for me was very difficult, and I'd like to know from you, what did you do? Or what would you do?
Who said that Christians should always be calm? I don't know, I love to fight a lot.
Well, I think you talked about that, you had that experience too, that I think I have to say that one of the areas where we have the most interest to prayer, and where I feel that we are most where I feel that I'm most in sync with what God wants, is if I pray for people that I have conflicts with. And when I pray for them that that we will get along better. I mean, I have that too in important teams. I have people that I find they seem to be a little allergic to me. There's like tension going on, and if I start to bless them and to pray for them, I feel that this is a prayer that God likes to answer. And I'm not just saying that theologically, but maybe practically. I've seen that happen so often, because I think it has a psychological effect on myself, and at the same time I bring in God moving in the hearts of other people, so I think that's one thing to start with.
Okay, I will try that out though.
For me, I think it's valuing the people, and then speaking truth, because the Bible says we should speak truth. So if we have something to say, even if it's hard, then I think we can say it. But first see the person and then act.
Thank you for your question. What else? Yeah.
Hi, I have a question to Christian actually. So as a design thinking coach, I'm just wondering if there is anything out of design thinking book that you try and learn to implement in everyday's church related activities, maybe looking to solve problems or stuff like that.
I mean, how we implement it, or how we could implement it?
How you implement it and how,
I think that the most critical insight from design thinking that I learned is mindset related, and that is we are often geared towards problem solving. Like we are presented with a deficit or a problem, and immediately our brain starts to solve that problem and comes up with 2, 3, 4 ideas how to solve it. And in design thinking, with the first diamond where you observe and understand first, you take this extra circle of not trying to solve the problem yet, but to understand the situation in great detail, and to empathize, and to bring in feeling, creativity. And I think that's something that as a general rule, I've started to really try to hit the brakes and do that a little bit before starting to solve the problem. But then, I mean, I would say that just working in all these creative ways, usually brainstormings, thinking about whom we try to solve a problem for kind of personas, a hierarchy of ideas, building on the ideas of others, throwing out a gazillion of ideas and not judging them, deferring judgment, all these basic design thinking principles, we use them in church all the time, I would say, in our brainstorming sessions. Now, that started, for example, with people in the church that are design thinkers, like Bettina, that started to use these techniques just casually and introduced the Elders Board or other teams in the church to these practices, and they took root, and now we use them. And interesting enough, if I may add that, for personal reasons, I was talking to somebody from PricewaterhouseCoopers on Friday who heads the church advisory of PricewaterhouseCoopers. 10 people, 10 consultants that only do churches in Germany. And they said that now the church is starting, and they bore that from the public consultancy, is starting to do design thinking sessions with church officials, with church administration to do better public administration in churches. So it's definitely seeping into even the church world, the high official old school church world now.
Question.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh yeah.
Great. Maybe just adding to that then, so the church can learn something from design thinking, and what can design thinking learn from the church, or what do you do different as a Christian design thinker? Is there a difference?
So let me, because I was already getting confused earlier. So now we're talking about what the church could bring towards design thinking, you're saying. And that's the direction.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I always thought that if you're involved in ministry, if you're a pastor, if you're a counselor, if you have a counseling gift, you develop a certain empathy for people. And you read those biblical stories, and they're based on people's needs and storylines. So I think that this general empathy, looking at people through God's eyes, valuing it, seeing the beauty in their life, having intention to it, I think that's a big thing that's important design thinking that can be amplified through church, right? And then also, I mean this idea that you defer judgment. When I heard that the first time, I mean, two basic design thinking values fail early and often, and defer judgment. I mean, this is Martin Luther 101 formation. Yeah, Martin Luther actually explicitly said you have to be a sinner, a good sinner, in order to really understand grace. So he said, go out and sin badly so that you will understand grace. That's what he said. And this idea that you can fail, that you just so I think we can really break that. We should be really grace loaded and go into this design thinking process and be open for the wildest stuff, and then we sort out things later. Yeah. But what do you think? I mean, I'll probably ask that question because you have some ideas too, right? Maybe.
Because I'm also working and we apply this method, so hearing from you that you use it in a church, that's a new perspective for me. So is there a separate component that we can bring in as Christians as well? So that's why I came up with that. Thank you.
Other questions?
Good evening. I'm not sure if I'm the only person here who's not yet doing startups, but I've been really trying to find so many ideas and really try to start it, and then life happens and I stop, and then I think of another idea and it stops again. So my question for you guys is how did you just keep that going? I'm pretty sure in the beginning it's always the toughest. We always say it's the toughest part because you get discouraged and there's no result. You get life coming to you, and you probably will stop. But then, what makes you going from that? That's my question.
You mean going after a valley? Yeah. For me, it's about my co-founder because he's super motivating and he always keeps on going. And then I'm always curious what comes next. So I'm I never want to get bored. So for me, it's more difficult to keep going if things are going well all the time. Then I get bored. So I sometimes need a little bit of a fall to wake up again. So for me, that's not so difficult. As for you?
So for me, it's in the deep valley, or God is there and helps you. So you have the phases where it goes down, and then you really have to pray. And then once you hit the bottom, you know that God is there and that there's something great ahead for you. And I really think, if we know our goal in life, then go for it. And then I wouldn't say you are every day motivated, but you see the long-term goal and can go for it.
One final question? Last chance. Therefore,
I heard a bit about you talking about failing or failure and the values of life. And I found it interesting experiences that when you share that when you have been in the valley or the burnout zone, that's often quite interesting testimony of faith in a world that maybe doesn't believe. So you have experience of that when you had your burnout, you were failing, or you failed at something, you had a bad time, but at that moment, were you able to share, or did you rather hide? Can you hear that?
Can you repeat that part of sharing?
So if you once, in the business world, like where you were sharing, is that you're failing at a certain point and there are bad times. What happens? Do you share that in the work environment? Is that a platform for sharing faith? Or do you see that as an opportunity?
So when it started, I was not able to share it, even not with myself. I didn't want to see it. And then the moment when I really had to confess in front of myself that I somehow fall down and then I have to build myself up, then I took a time off and then I came back, and with the help of this Christian coach I got back. And then I started talking or mentioning it in situations. And then the really interesting situation happened that people who had a shiny, strong image suddenly started to cry. They said, I feel the same, but I don't know how to talk about it. And you're the first one who opens up to me. And thank you for sharing. And that's super interesting because that happens a lot to me in that scene. I mean, it's a very strong scene. Everybody has to show their passion and show that they can do it. And the moment you show weakness, it breaks out and people start to become weak as well and open and vulnerable, and that's where the interesting part starts. So for me it was a really blessing. I mean, I learned more in that time about myself and my surrounding than before and after. Yeah.
I just want to add that I once was at a seminar and this guy just asked a question about your question. And he did a really good job explaining what you do when you don't like your neighbor and how you can solve problems. So in the interest of networking for your question, you're a good person to talk to. And about the weakness question, I can say that I have really big problems with doing that, talking about my weakness, but I have always seen that the most difficult thing for me is the first crack, to make the first start to say that I'm in a problem or in doubts or in a difficult setting, and when I start doing that, the rest goes easy. But to make that first statement, because we have a flashlight every team meeting where every person on the team that works for the church says how he's doing, and my colleagues, they are like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this and this, and I'm like, everything's fine, thank you. But learning or knowing that the start is the most difficult for me, I can change, and I know where to change, and that has been experimenting with that has been really helpful for me.
Because in the Christian scene, there's also a big pressure, right? There's a big pressure of always being close to God, and it's tough to sometimes say, no, I'm not close. I don't feel anything right now. You know, this is kind of a no-go. Thanks for sharing all that you do, and I will take my work right and things like that.